but that's time difference now, over 3 minutes advantage that he'll start with. Hikaru, he'll be trying to put pressure on the board and the clock. Firouzja, will that courage pay off?
648, dangerously low. But the fact that Hikaru went only 10 seconds higher than that, perhaps these two just know each other so incredibly well. And I have to say, what a way to end day one for chess at the Esports World Cup. You know, we get these two speed demons going down to the wire. It's the Armageddon, it's the final game. This is exciting stuff.
This is in murky water territory. We have been saying, a lot of people have been saying for some time, these two are speed demons. But if push came to shove, maybe Firouzja's just a little bit faster. But is he 3 minutes and 12 seconds faster in a 10-minute game? That's a lot.
That's a lot, and already Hikaru landing the first surprise. There's been a knight for bishop trade. This is a king's pawn opening, but slightly offbeat. No clear path forward for black, and Firouzja's been eating away at his clock already. Spent 20 seconds. Hikaru had only spent 5 seconds up until this move. It does feel like Hikaru, with the white pieces, has come up with a great opening strategy, but he needs to apply that pressure, keep it up. I think we'll find an answer as to who is the most in-form player today.
If we have the version of Hikaru that plays 20 or 30 moves by the time he's gone 1 minute on the clock, I mean, bringing that version of Hikaru out now when your opponent's already over 3 minutes down, that's got to be the play, right?
And that's a big move by Hikaru, you know, just opening up the position. It was a question mark, but I think practically really smart. Alireza forced him to think just a little bit more right now, and Hikaru pauses before he picks up that pawn. There are some exciting, tempting options for white. You could develop your knight, you could push the e-pawn forward, hitting the black knight, or will he go for bishop takes pawn here? David Hikaru, he takes a pause after that first f4.
There was a big shake of the head as well from Hikaru. He kind of shook his head, closed his eyes, being like, why did I do that? He accelerated the play. That means he's gone a bit more direct, and that helps Firouzja. Now it's clearer what black's plan is. Black is going to castle. Black is going to blow open the center with a pawn push to d5. I think Hikaru, Armageddon strategy, maybe he should have been keeping the tension, and there we go. He sits back again. A quick shake of the head, and he's trying to reset because he knows suddenly things are speeding up, and it's not easy for white to find moves.
So let's explain that for the viewers at home. If we engineer any sort of situation where Alireza Firouzja basically has a clear strategy, you can almost pre-move your next 5 to 10 developing moves or spend very, very little time thinking about them, there's a chance that negates a lot of the advantage Hikaru Nakamura had by starting with 10 minutes on his clock, and a draw would be disastrous because that counts as a loss for Hikaru.
Exactly, and just by nature, in a must-win scenario, you need to invest a bit more time. You need to just eliminate the moves, the variations that might lead towards a draw. And with the time advantage disappearing, now down to only 2 minutes, Hikaru might be regretting that last move here, Firouzja. He's going to get the black king castled, and then he's going to pounce with pawn to d5.
It feels like he rushed with that, right? Especially with the long thing that just came after that pawn move, developing the knight. Now, the big Armageddon strategy at the top levels often been, you know, take those big decisions, the critical pawn trades, much later on when you've got your opponent down to those final few minutes, becomes that much more difficult to deal with. And Hikaru, another question mark on the board, pushes that e-pawn forward, trying to keep things close, trying to keep things complicated. But look at that, Alireza doing Alireza thing. He doesn't care about his knight. He's coming for Hikaru's knight, which is pinned to the white king.
Look, they're doing one thing. They're keeping it complicated. That much is for sure. But I'm not sure in whose favor. If they end up swapping here, there's an absolutely horrible discovered check that Hikaru Nakamura could be walking into here. Whereas once the black knight is captured, a simple recapture with the queen or similar gets you out of trouble. That extra tempo here could prove crucial for Alireza Firouzja.
Disaster. These last 3 moves for Hikaru Nakamura have been so bad for his position. Quick action replay. It looked like on the last move, the white pawn stepping forward was hitting the black knight. Instead of running away though, counter-attack on this white knight, pinned, and that discovered attack that John was mentioning here. If the white pieces continue to grab the material on offer at the very end, you take a pawn, hitting the white king, a check, and next move, the black queen, the new queen, actually defends this rook in the corner. This is the key detail Hikaru might have missed. You can make a queen with a check, the black queen swoops back. Instead, this variation, unthinkable. Hikaru was forced to defend his own knight. We see knights jumping, the black knight hitting the white queen, and wow, this game is progressing so speedily, but black is a couple of pawns up. Let's go back to the game. Hikaru is in hustle mode now.
Couple of pawns up and a beautiful spot for that black knight on e3 planted. It's never getting out of there. This is looking absolutely stunning. You could even just get your king to safety, defend that g7 pawn, which has just been attacked by Hikaru Nakamura. I don't know if you guys saw, but Hikaru's expressions gave it all away. He's frustrated with the way he's handled this Armageddon out of the opening, just giving Alireza a bunch of force moves. Not just that, lands himself in trouble. It might be the white king that's about to face fire.
Yeah, I like the idea of the queen out to b4. You're threatening, well, are you sort of threatening the pawn on b7? You're also preventing castling. You want to keep the black king in the middle of the board, keep those threats alive. The problem is there are more black pieces surrounding white's king than there are white pieces right now. This is so unusual and so dangerous to look at that I just don't think this level of compensation is enough.
Yeah, we saw what happened to a king entering the middle earlier, and the white king now looking precariously placed. Hikaru trying to fight back. He's won one of the pawns back. He's still just one pawn down, but a question mark given to this last move from Alireza Firouzja.
And it's Hikaru's king that's on f3, pinning that knight on e4. Very surprising. Again, a very natural move by Alireza, getting the king to safety to the other flank. But let's remind everyone, for Hikaru, a draw is not good enough. So queen trades, Alireza would be super happy to get into the endgame. And we saw that. Hikaru was heading for that queen to c5. He put it right back on his screen.
Yep, that is the only move to stay in the game. According to our computers, the white queen stepping forward to c5, offering a trade. But that only fights for a draw, really. Queen trades, the white pawns might start dropping as well. He does play it out of necessity. If you didn't play this move, the white king would have been in the crossfires. And he's going to try and seek his chances in an endgame. The problem is, 4 minutes for Firouzja, when Firouzja is a pawn up and in full control, should still be enough when a draw is sufficient.
Declining the queen trade there. And just take a look at that absolutely monster knight on e3. You take that knight off with any piece for any reason, you got a protected pass pawn for the black pieces as well. This is such an amazing position.
This is nuts. This is insane what Alireza has done. He's just inviting Hikaru to capture the a7 pawn close to the king. Yes, he's eyeing a check on the other flank on h3. We're seeing that being played out right now. And Alireza missed it. He did not see that the pawn was hanging. He can't believe it.
Wow, that was a blind spot. He just made a massive assumption, Alireza, that the black queen can jump in with a check. But that's just a one-mover. That's just a one-move trick. The white king will happily step back and run away. Suddenly, the attack is on the black king. Why didn't he trade queens? A draw up his sleeve in an Armageddon, enough for black. He could have traded queens, gone to safety. That was very impractical.
That was Alireza's intuition taking over. You know, something that's his biggest strength can sometimes be your weakness. He wanted to keep the attack going. But again, the practicality of the situation. You have a beautiful knight planted. You have an extra pawn. Get the queens off the board. You need only a draw.
And look, this isn't like a game-losing blunder or by any means. But when they say the hardest game to win is a winning position, that's when you get the most complacent. That's when you start missing these small details, these little things that could have ended up being crushing.
And there's a big threat on the board. Queen a8 check. Knight coming in with the check would fork the black king and queen. Alireza going into a think after giving up a key pawn is bad news.
Yeah, it might not be a game-losing blunder, but it's definitely a momentum-losing blunder. Now it's all about white's threats. The black pieces here just lacking the coordination to deliver a killer blow themselves. It does feel like the path is narrowing. He finds a good move there, Alireza, stopping the white knight from leaping forward to c5. But this is, again, just the beginning. Suddenly the clock is all important.
And that's the problem, right? You keep the queens on the board. Hikaru's got another 100 moves that he can play right now. Get those queens traded, you're in an endgame. You're in sort of safer territory right now. Under 3 minutes, and Alireza cannot stop shaking his head.
Yeah. The emotion for Firouzja there, you can see it. You see it in his body language. You see it in the way he's shaking his head. He thinking, you know what? This is going to be big. This is going to be bold. I'm not going to swap queens. I'm going to win this game. And then a couple of moves later, he is... the amount of regret making that, but you have to move past that. I find this impossible to do over a chessboard. If you realize you've made a mistake, moving past that mistake while you're still playing the same game, in my opinion, is one of the hardest things you can do in chess. It is so difficult to do.
So difficult. And Firouzja, the one thing that might have held him back in his chess career is that inability to shift gears. He's always going for checkmate. He never wants endgames. He's all about the attack, but in Armageddon, you need to use the draw up your sleeve with black to bully the opponent. That queen trade that he declined might come back to haunt him, but still not easy. This position's still so irrational. Queens, kings, everything just up in the air. Who is safer? Material count. is level right now, but that might not stay the case for much longer. Hikaru Nakamura now tanking before pushing a pawn forward, avoiding any checks from the Black Queen. Very slow, subtle move there. But will that change the momentum back to Firouzja's hands now?
Gives the move to Black right now, and Firouzja is considering taking that central e5 pawn which is hanging, which will allow White to pick up pawns of their own as well. f7 would be weak, but I love this move by the king. It sort of frees up the rook to come and start chasing the White Queen from that a file, getting away from any checks on the board and trying to hide on the other flank on the right side, perhaps marching from e7 to f8.
Now Hikaru looks a bit desperate. I think he missed this one. The White Queen suddenly looks a bit offside, needs to get back into the game, but it's not going to be an easy path for her. 4 minutes now and counting for Hikaru.
It's like Hikaru now needs time. The queen on a7 feels a bit offside. The rook on h1 isn't in the game at the moment. Hikaru can do all sorts of great things, but he needs to get his pieces in position, and we have a blunderer.
The White Queen is trapped. The Black Queen is going to save itself with a check. The next move, the Black Rook is going to slide into the corner. The White King suddenly is hit as well. That is a crazy decision by Hikaru Nakamura. He's blown it in one move.
He sees it. Under pressure, he was looking for the way through, and unfortunately, it's backfired in spectacular fashion. The next move, the rook slides across, and Hikaru's now facing down the prospect of losing his queen.
And you could even pick up the rook on h1 and wrap up matters right now. Rook 8, go for the queen, go for the rook, and there's frustration on Hikaru. He got that chance, he got that opportunity with Alireza 2 minutes on the clock, and there was a huge gift at such a critical moment.
Free rook. Forget the queen at this point. Like, the queen would be a trade. The rook is free on h1. Options abound. It looks like rook a8 is the decision made, and compared to queen takes h1, I'm guessing that's the reason we have the X against that move, but that still looks pretty darn strong for Black.
Yeah, he just didn't want to calculate there, Firouzja. He wanted to be practical. Queen takes rook on h1 would have allowed some nasty checks, some scary checks. Here we're going to see a queen trade, slightly convoluted. The Black Queen gives itself up for one rook, and there we go. The White Queen drops off too, but the White Knight is actually trapped in the corner. Cannot have saved itself, but it would have been pinned. Black has an extra knight. Firouzja now, with just under 2 minutes, is a huge favourite to take this game.
But what happens? Is he going to play this on? Will Hikaru try to flag? 1 minute 45 is quite a bit of time. And look at that. Firouzja up a piece. He's happy with the repetition. A draw is as good as a win. Keeps everything under control. Makes those small moves on his mouse, right? Doesn't want to lose out on time. And Hikaru, he's got any entering squares. He's trying to flag Firouzja.
He's playing a lot more. It's almost like not swapping the queens and risking the game there shocked Firouzja into going, oh yes, I need to change gears here. And you can see him playing significantly more practical chess at this point, realizing that he can bully his opponent with the use of the Armageddon rules, like you said, David. And this is far, far more practical than we saw even minutes ago.
Yeah, and in the meantime, Firouzja has been very slow the last few moves. He's trying to checkmate the White King, but this last pawn check has liberated a square for the White King to step up and into on e5. Firouzja thought he was winning on the spot, thought he could end it there and then, but it's not over yet.
He has to make a move. He's just taking so long to play, and that's what Hikaru has done now. He's created some escape squares for the king. The game does go on. Hikaru has a bunch of pawns, 3 extra pawns for that knight. Firouzja desperately trying to repeat the position.
Hikaru can't repeat. He's got to push his king to a different square, maybe retreat it. And yes, it's not objectively correct, but it's all about the clock. His last chance, 1 minute. This is touch and go. This is still anyone's game if Hikaru can induce a blunder or catch Firouzja in a tricky pre-move.
But I look at him and it's almost a feeling. Is Hikaru about to throw in the towel? Is he about to resign? He does continue with the repetition, now changes his mind. Game on.
He had to try something. This isn't ideal. The White King now slightly offside, misplaced. The Black Rook is going pawn hunting. The Black Knight is going to hold the other half of the board. This is a clearly winning position for Alireza Firouzja. But does he have enough time under the 1 minute mark now?
Gives a check, forcing a decision with the king, gets his own king. Look at the speed with which Hikaru is playing, just making sure that Alireza gets no time to think on Hikaru's clock there. Gives a check, comes back with the rook. Alireza trying to keep his pieces close, making those short moves.
Ooh, and Hikaru's pawns are getting very far forward. Alireza might be getting nervous. 45 seconds this time. The White Rook pinning the Black Knight. Hikaru can force a draw, but again, it's not enough, and a big mistake there. The Black Knight is coming around. It's going to be checkmate. The White King is mated. There was knight a6 check and a mate.
That was a checkmate in two, which was missed, but there is 37 seconds on the clock, and this is once again flagging territory. What a huge opportunity there. Firouzja had to book his spot. And once again, the fight is on.
Fight is on, it's all about the clock. Hikaru still has some time in the bank. It might make sense to slow down, wait for 10 seconds, and try and trick Firouzja, but here the position repeating itself. Hikaru cannot let that happen. Under 30 seconds now, but still the rook's on the board. Still tricky for Firouzja.
Gives the check, comes back, and as long as the rooks are alive, the game goes on. And there we've got Firouzja trying to repeat at every single opportunity. The
Struggling
knight
to make
now
progress though.
coming in. More checkmating patterns. He doesn't even want to try.
Here we go, Firouzja just wants the draw, but he's dropped a pawn, and he gets the white rook off the board. So sneaky from Firouzja. That is going to end the game. It's going to be a draw now, guaranteed.
And there is the draw that clinches it with 20 seconds left to go on the clock. Alireza Firouzja will take the Armageddon game and move on to the quarterfinals here at the Esports World Cup. Hikaru Nakamura drops to the lower bracket match within the group. He still has the possibility of joining Firouzja in the quarterfinals, but he's going to have to do it the long way.
The second sign-up by Team Falcons is the first to qualify for the quarterfinals, and what an Armageddon it was. It almost felt like it was slipping out of Alireza's hands, and then eventually that one big blunder, the pressure piling on the seconds. But this is why Alireza is a bullet monster. I see nerves there, but you can still feel the tension.
Yeah, they both really wanted that game. They were both super nervous. That's the only reason we saw those mistakes.